Stand by. Loading music. Come on, music. Okay. I'm loading Zeph Daniels. This is Porthole to Justice, your host, Amelia Duran. And I am loading, I think I'm loading, Zeph Daniels' tune, Cardboard Town. And it is August 7th, 2017. So stand by, guys. Having a little technical difficulty. Alright, here we go. I think. Come on! You're killing me! Got 5 minutes! 5 minutes to go! Kofifi's biting me. Alright. Kofifi cat. I hear something. I think I hear something. Come on, is it gonna load? I always have this problem, and I don't like playing. I only listen to Zeph music, so I don't want to play something else. Come on. Play. Please play. Not you, Kofifi. I am having on a guest tonight from, let's see. Well, I won't talk about that in a little bit. I'm going to be having her on. We're going to be talking about the hurricane, but we're mostly going to be talking about the after effects on the outside, the smaller towns of Texas, covering that and some of the reverberating, devastating effects. Come on. What is the problem here? No problem. Play the music. Play. It's been one of those days, guys. I cannot fix this. It just is what it is. Well, the exciting news is I'm going to try and set up an actual live camera type deal. Something's happening because I think the music is actually loading. I'll do the intro, the whole deal. I don't know, should I just skip it now? I don't even know. Why does it do this? What's the slowness about? I need somebody technical to like help me with all this stuff because I am I am not good at the technical side of everything, but I do my best. I'm trying. Okay. So if you just tuned in, this is the Porthole to Justice. I'm your host, Amelia Duran. It is September 7th, 2017. And we're going to be talking about some of the weather, crazy weather that's going on. And some of the ways you can be proactive. And just being aware what's to come, because there's going to be reverberating effects from all of this. So yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about. Apparently it's doing something because the little thing is moving, like it's downloading. And I played it already one time before, so I don't know why it has to download. Maybe I'm not doing something right. I don't don't know. Alright, I'm going to send out an invite for everybody who wants to join into the chat room. Why is this happening? Every time I try to do... Okay, well, something's happening. I'm going to send out a invitation and let everybody know that we're live. Okay? Let's see. Join in now. Okay, where do I send that? Oh boy. I'm going to invite my Facebook friends. Come on. Well, I have this all planned out, but I guess it's not going to work. Something has to be happening here, because... Stand by. We're still waiting for everybody to tune in, and we're not quite ready yet. I haven't contacted my guests yet. I'm not quite sure, like, what the issue is. Little technical difficulty here. I want to play a song. I want to play an intro song. God help me, please. Alright. I'm going to try one last time, and if it doesn't happen, it just doesn't happen. So, yeah, so I met this individual. I think I told you guys about that I had posted something in the social media news network that I was going to be looking into an MSM broadcast that was published to YouTube, and it was an interviewer that was interviewing a homeless man, and the homeless man was telling the reporter that he had left the shelter because he said they were killing people. Now, the reporter blew this off, and he actually responded to the man, and he said, well, obviously you're homeless and you're under tremendous amounts of stress. You decided to stay outside during the hurricane, and what was that like? And the homeless gentleman responded, and he was like, well, I left because they were killing people in the shelters. And I was really shocked. But at the same time, it was something inside of me was like, you know what? I'm going to publish this to the social media news network. And I know everybody's going to be like, oh my gosh, that guy is crazy. He's homeless. But there was something in me, and I wanted to look further into this. And I noticed when I went to go look into it that there was nobody. I know that a lot of these people are being transported to these FEMA camps, if you will, for shelter. But you would think, you know, most individuals have cell phones nowadays. I mean, we had the Obama phone, and Obama handed out free phones. So most people have access to cell phones. So why aren't these people posting to their Facebooks to at least let their families know that they're okay? Why aren't we seeing more?
You're listening to the Death Report. You're going to watch the name of the Most High. I certainly hope you're doing well. Many people don't realize there's such a thing as a cardboard town. watch your language in a cardboard town? Is there really any way back to the life you used to lead? The cardboard counts for them, but they don't know it. I wish to God they wouldn't throw it, but help me out, Hal. Listen to this. Hey, how you doing out there? You listening to the Zeph Report? You've come to the right place. Really sad for those who don't take care of that cardboard town. They got like a couple of barber shops and a cake maker right down the street there. You don't want to get that mad over there now.
Okay, I did it. That was Zeph Daniels, Cardboard Town. I love his show. You got to tune in on Spreaker.com to the Zeph Report. I post it every morning to the Porthole to Justice. And yeah, subscribe to my show too. So yeah, he's an amazing genius. Audio, instrumental, theatrical, audio verite artist. Anyways, welcome to the Porthole to Justice. This is Amelia Duran, your host. And let's see. Okay, so I had posted this video in the social media news network about this homeless man that had opted to stay outside during the hurricane because he had told the MSN reporter that they were killing people in these shelters. And I thought, gosh, and then I came across, I decided I was going to look into this a little bit online, and I came across this guy's Facebook profile, and he had posted some footage. The one Facebook profile that I found, and he had posted some footage of being in the shelter in Orange, Texas. Excuse me, I have a little bit of like a disruption in my throat. He had posted a letter, and he says, "Dear government shelters, this has been the worst experience of my life as a civilian during a disaster. We have been placed in this so-called shelter that basically looks like a concentration camp. We have had officers walk above us on platforms in the pictures below as if we are threats to society. We have been numbered. We have been given numbers as if we were the Jews of the Holocaust. The walls are even color coordinated. The so-called food that you have given us have made the people throw up and stay in the restrooms. I understand that you have to order in some form, but treating us like this isn't right. Upon arrival to the facility, my Red Cross bag and toothbrush, toothpaste, soap, comb, and shampoo was confiscated from me and thrown away. Don't ask me why, but the National Guard took it at the metal detectors point that civilians have to walk through. Yet your men have been allowed to walk amongst us in the same building with weapons on their hip. This is not how you treat humans. Now, I saw that YouTube video, and then I read this on this gentleman's profile, and I was like, oh my God. You know, I don't want to be alarmist, and I don't want to, like, I guess that is alarmist to read that, and I was really concerned, and I friended this guy, and apparently I wasn't the only one. There was another woman, and let me go to her profile. So we kind of met over this because he went missing, okay? This was posted last week, and he's basically been missing since Sunday. And so I'm not wanting to think the worst. We're reaching out to family contacts on his profile, friend contacts, and we're trying to, you know, figure out where he's at. And apparently they had transported them to another location, and it's more isolated, and it's in an area called Alexandria in Texas. And he did get back to me this afternoon. And I can report that he is back home in Orange, Texas. But in the new location, there was no phone reception inside the building. And it's very isolated, and you cannot leave on foot. You must have transportation out of this facility. It's a little concerning to me. I don't know if it's concerning to anybody else. It's a little concerning to me that there's no phone reception calling out. But yeah, so let's see. Okay, I'm going to call her. I have her name. I know that's not a right name. It's Kaz on here, but I know I'm going to have her introduce herself. But we kind of bonded and we met over this. And she's like really kept up with all of the weather reports. Hi. Okay, wait just a second. Hold on. Are you there? For some reason, okay, wait just a second.
Are you there?
Ah, I see you. Okay. I'm here. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Hello?
Hi. Welcome to the Porthole to Justice. Can you hear me? Okay. Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Oh, thank goodness. Okay. I'm so sorry. Yes, I can hear you. Welcome to the Porthole to Justice. And please, I know I know you. Okay, I have your name as KZZ, but please tell us your full name.
Yeah, my name is Katie Zan. Thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, welcome to the show. I was just kind of explaining to people, we kind of bonded over Clayton's story and online because we were both researching how to find him and make sure that he was okay, because everybody's kind of on high alert, and I was wanting to research and find something kind of well, you know, it's not a fluffy topic. But something to like research and find something that was, Okay, are these people okay, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the biggest concern is just trying to find out if these people are okay, what the next steps are going to be for them, and are they actually out of harm's way, as they say, or is this some kind of diversion where, they're going to be possibly into a remote location, like you said, and have something happen to them where we don't know because we can't get a hold of them through their cell phones.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a little concerning to me because they've transported... He did say, however, that where they transported everybody was nicer than where they were staying before. But
Right.
he said it's an isolated area and you cannot leave on foot. It's not safe. And I did speak to somebody else. I spoke to Dan the Man, who has a local radio show here in Texas. I spoke to his wife, and she did say that, it's not safe to go walking out there. It's a really isolated area where they have all these people now. And they need to be able to call out in order, if they have to be transported. But I don't want to say to everybody that's listening into the show, I believe that transportation is going to be needed for these people to go back home, but I want to make sure that it's going to be safe. And I do know that our mutual friend, did say that he left and he's a part, I think they are still flooded and they need construction workers and crews to make it safe for people to come back. I think that's what I understood.
Right. I'm really happy that he was able to leave. I don't, I'm not there, so I don't know what the actual situation is, but it just doesn't sound good on paper that they were taken to a second location. Everybody knows you don't want to get taken to a second location. And then on top of it, the food sources is not good. They have toxic water. And if they did want to leave, they can't leave unless they have transportation, as well as cell phone service. Those are all red flags. And so I'm glad that he got out. I'm really glad about that. And then he's able to tell us about what he saw prior to getting out. But I can tell you from the research that I've done that FEMA has been in place since 2008, been preparing for natural disasters such as this, to have their camp set up. And while it is a government-orchestrated program, I think we all know that everything from the government's not always good, with their agendas that they have in place. And I definitely think that there is a depopulation agenda in play here. And there's not just one, hurricane. There's four. You have Irma, then you have Jose, and then you have Katia, which is right behind after Harvey. So it's one after the next. If you go ahead and take that into account, as well as the earthquakes that have been happening and the forest fires over on the West Coast, there's a whole lot of chaos at one time, and some of it's not even being reported on at all.
Yeah, that's the thing that's kind of was concerning to me, I think, was that we weren't seeing major news media putting out there that, or going to these places so that we know that our family and friends are safe. And then
Right.
You're not seeing them post on Facebook anywhere, letting their friends and family know that they're safe. It's kind of like really hush-hush. So that was just, that was concerning to me. Like, it's been kind of gnawing, and I don't want to just go on my show and do a live radio show and just throw out a bunch of, alarming information. I want to make sure that I at least have some solutions and resources to provide to the listeners. Yeah, and the thing is that we do have displaced families here in Texas. We do have displaced pets and animals. And you know, I will at the end of the show post some of these some places to donate that I find to be very credible, and also resources for people to volunteer physically if need be. And I feel the urge to encourage people to, if you do have a guest house or a place you can temporarily house a family, you know, obviously that's going to be a better option than one of these places, these FEMA places. But, you know...
Yeah, that's actually what I was going to say, is I definitely think my advice would be to the listeners is, you know, that shelter should be your very last resort. So, and you know, specifically people in Florida that hurricane hasn't hit yet, you know, they're the ones that actually can prepare for this. And I recommend talking to as many friends as they can, or relatives, or whatever, to try to make arrangements before they would go to the shelter. I would definitely make that a last resort.
Yeah, and, you know, it's crazy because, oh gosh, I was on the Zeph Report. You don't know this, but I was on the Zeph Report just a few days ago, and I mumbled, you know, oh no guys, it's going to be a Category 6. And everybody kind of scoffed at me, and they were like, there is no such thing as, you know, obviously they were thinking there is no such thing as Category 6. However,
right.
I listened to your broadcast on your live feed, and
right.
you were saying the same thing that I was saying.
Yeah, I mean, they've actually said that this storm is so strong, the one that's coming, that it's actually measuring on, like, it's going to be measuring on the earthquake scale, not even on the category scale, because of it's 300 miles wide, and the winds are around 180 miles per hour, and that's, you know, where they're at now. It's probably going to pick up speed and strength as it gets to the coast. And, you know, you're right, we haven't really heard of a Category 6. You know, Katrina and Hurricane Andrew are the worst things that we've seen. But these are historical hurricanes that are record-breaking. You know, Harvey was record-breaking flooding that they've never seen before. And then, you know, the damage was record-breaking, and that was a huge, huge hurricane for us. And now here we have another one right behind it. And I have to tell you, the severity and the frequency of the hurricanes obviously is increasing. You know, we had Hurricane Katrina, I think it was back in 2004 or 2005. We didn't have another huge one until 2017. But now we have Harvey in 2017 and Irma right behind it within days. Mm-hmm. So the frequency and severity has definitely increased on these storms.
Yeah, and it's not on a natural scale. I don't think anybody has... I mean, Zeph said on his show that, you know, well, look, if it's God's will, it's God's will. And I tend to agree. But we can't completely ignore just the complete, the power, and it's off the charts. I find it, I'm having a hard time believing that it's man-made. And
here,
go ahead.
Yeah, I can tell you this. The one thing I'll say is, you know, I'm a Christian believer. I believe in God and you know, His power, what He can do. And I do believe that, you know, God's will definitely takes precedent over things. But I will tell you that He gave everybody their own will, and I think that man has kind of tried to take God out of everything, especially the nation. And I'm talking about our government specifically. Our nation has turned its back on God overall. And I think that that's showing. And I think just like genetically modified food that we have, where, you know, they're trying to create food that's not, you know, like a grape and an apple together, a grapple, stuff that we've never had before, genetically modified animals, fish. Just like they genetically modify that, they also can do geoengineering to the weather. Mm-hmm. And so my personal opinion is that they're trying to play God. And that is why these storms are so disastrous, so big, so massive, and that's why it looks so different than what we've ever seen in history. And they can actually direct us. They can direct where they want these storms to go with the technology of HARP. So, with HARP, that's definitely man-created storms that they can do. And a lot of people have no idea what HARP is, and it's not some mythical thing. It's actually real. It's the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. So if you go to the website, you'll see everything that HARP can do. And it's located in Alaska, and they basically can send frequency waves that can create earthquakes. They can create different types of storms. That's what they've been working on. And that's what this is. So, I mean, if you ask me what's happening here, just like even the earthquakes that are increasing in frequency, those are being monitored by NASA as well over Yellowstone National Park. But I definitely think that all of this, there's a reason behind all of this madness, and that's because they are wanting to have the depopulation agenda, so they basically want to have people have to go to the shelters. It's also a reset of the economy. If the economy is kind of stalled and they have to, promote building everything over again in Florida and Texas, then that's kind of like a reset button on the economy. So there's reasons behind everything that they do. And, just the fact that these mega shelters have been built ahead of time should give listeners a clue that they were prepared for this. They knew something was coming that we didn't. And I highly suggest looking into the Yellowstone volcano, the super volcano, because that is something that they've been researching and monitoring, and nobody knows anything about it. But I actually just looked it up when I took a break. It said that there were 20 earthquakes in the last 7 days in western Montana. And there's been over 1,100 in the whole year, just in the western part of Montana. And that's a huge astronomical amount in one area. And there's a 5.2 magnitude earthquake at Yellowstone National Park, which is the largest earthquake they've had in 30 years. And that was in June of this year. Mm-hmm. So there's definitely a lot going on that the government is orchestrating. And, people just need to kind of keep watch of that, of what's going on around them. It's not just, a lot of people, it kind of bothers me, still say, oh, it's just hurricane season. But the thing is it's not just hurricane season. These are huge storms that are 300 miles wide that are flattening cities.
Yeah, and another thing that really disturbed me about when Clayton did messenger me back that he was, that he had left the facility and he had made it home because he was joining these construction crews. He did say that they were giving out vaccinations to everybody there at the facility, especially the children.
That's alarming. That's definitely alarming. And that's why I asked about the RFID chips as well, because I think another thing is, an RFID chip, just like you would give your dog, at the vet, a microchip, the whole reason for that is if you lose your dog, you can find them, Mm-hmm. And right now you have all these Americans that are displaced. They can't find their family, they can't find people, and I did do a little research into that. Walmart has actually partnered with the government, and you can look this up. They've partnered with the government to be doing RFID chips, as well as opening up the empty stores for shelters.
Exactly,
so,
and they're transporting the people from the Walmarts to the FEMA locations. So,
right.
and these are like isolated locations. And so this is just, it raises some red flags for me. That's all I'm going to say. And I just would like to say, if God puts it on your heart, and you are able to accommodate a family temporarily, I think that we should take care of our own and not rely on the government if we don't have to. And, I'd like to, if God puts that on your heart, I encourage everybody to strongly heed. And the other thing is, we cannot ignore the fact that, I've been a children and families activist and advocate for 7 years in the porthole to justice. And for 7 years, we have literally been trafficking, murdering, human trafficking, murdering these children, destroying the family unit, and with no oversight at all. And, these are God's children. These are God's babies. And it says, if you read Malachi, it says, I will send the prophet Elijah to you before the great and dreadful day of the Lord. He will turn the hearts of the parents to their children and the hearts of the children to their parents, or else I will come and strike the land with total destruction. We can sit here and we can say, folks, that this is planned and everything, and perhaps that's the case, but we have to also, we have to repent as a people. We know that this has been happening to our children, and a lot of us are not speaking out and speaking up, and I hope that people find their voices, and they do. I know that I'm really proud of shows like the Zeph Report and reality radio here in Texas. Dan is really outspoken, and I appreciate his show. And all of the hosts, the radio hosts that, advocate on behalf of the children. But we as a people, we have to understand that, we can't just keep turning the other cheek and think that, God isn't going to pour out his justice. So, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I wanted to let you know, as far as that goes, is, God has really been pulling on my heart a lot lately, too, about what's been going on. And while I do think a lot of this is orchestrated by the government, I also think that it basically is right in line with the Bible of what's to come. I definitely think that we're in the end times, and I think that solar eclipse that nobody talks about anymore because there's so many other things, that solar eclipse that happened, that total solar eclipse, came across the United States of America, and it went across all three fault lines, the calderas, the Madrid fault zone, as well as Yellowstone National Park. The shadow that it cast was on those three fault lines, and I think it was 4 days later we had Hurricane Harvey. And in the Bible it says, that the sun, the stars, and the moon are signs. It says that in Genesis, and it also says that Luke 21, 25 through 26, it says that there's going to be, signs in the earth, moon, or in the signs are going to be in the sun, the moon, and the stars. And then the people will be perplexed at the raging of the seas. That's a verse that stood out to me when I was reading. And literally, we saw that solar eclipse happen, and I believe that sign is for the believers that, hey, Jesus is returning. But I also think that solar eclipse is a sign for the non-believers. They need to repent from their sins, and they need to cling to Jesus. They need to... I believe that was a duality, a dual sign for everyone. Everybody across the United States saw it.
Yeah.
And then right after that, people are perplexed. They're very perplexed at the raging of the seas. So I think that's very biblical, and there's a lot happening. I'm not sure if you're familiar with September 23rd, the Revelation 12 sign, but that's coming around the corner here. And that lines up directly with Revelation 12. That's where, in Genesis it does say that God put the sun, the moon, and the stars in the sky as markers. And markers is just another word for signs. So those are his 7 heavenly signs to his people of his return. That's what those are. And so, the constellation Virgo, it says that, there's going to be a virgin and she's going to be clothed with the sun and the moon at her feet. And it says that she'll have a crown of 12 stars. And, on September 23rd, there's going to be a direct alignment where the constellation Virgo lines up with the 3 planets, as well as the constellation Leo, which is 9 stars. So you have the 9 stars and the 3 planets, that equals 12. And then the sun is going to be orbiting in such a way that it's clothing her with the sun, and then the moon's at her feet. And the reason why I bring that up is because NASA discovered a 10th planet called Planet Xena, and they actually put a press release out that they found a 10th planet, and then they pulled that press release out of the archive, as it never happened before. But that planet has gotten closer and closer to Earth, and on September 23rd, Jupiter and Planet X is supposed to collide, because that's going to be the alignment. That's where it is. And nobody knows anything about this, because they don't want you to know, number one, for panic reasons, and number two, because it's a sign of Revelation 12. But I strongly encourage anybody that doesn't know to, YouTube September 23rd, Revelation 12, because if that's the case, then that marks the beginning of the 7-year tribulation, and I think that explains a lot of these events, such as the earthquake and the frequency and severity of these hurricanes.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. Pray, folks. Pray for grace, because I think this
Absolutely.
is going to be a time of true testimony, and people are going to be, it's going to be intense.
Absolutely. I mean, it's hard in trying times that we're going to be. I mean, it's already happening, but it's going to. It's going to get worse from here, and all you can do is pray, like you said, and cling to Jesus, and repent from your sins.
And we do.
Try to help
we pray for 20 on 20 every month for 20 minutes for to end the human trafficking, and we come together and we pray in the portal to justice. We're all fierce prayer warriors, and I believe that that's really what has gotten us through so much. And it's not just the hurricanes, and it's not just like we have. Okay, there's the fires. I think there's 81 fires total. There was 5,800 acres burned in the Los Angeles fire alone. So there's tons of people displaced in Los Angeles as well. And people have had to evacuate, as well as you and I touched a little bit on Yellowstone and what's going on over there in Wyoming.
Right. So Montana actually has had 100,000 acres burned. So there's been I think it said there's been over 1,500 homes that have been burned to the ground that people have actually had to completely leave. This includes all the forest animals and everything like that. There's been no news coverage whatsoever on this, and it's frustrated a lot of people that live there, because while Harvey is a devastating thing, these people are not getting any relief or any help at all, or even news coverage or awareness. Yellowstone National Park, as I mentioned before, there is that super volcano under that, and there's been over 1,100 events. So with that being said, while Montana, and it's not just Montana, it's actually Montana, Oregon, Washington, and I believe California, all those states are all burning up right now as we speak. I know that the Montana fires alone, they have been burning since July, first week of July. And that's a really long time if you think about a fire not being put out. So that's a big deal as far as that goes. And then NASA has been monitoring Yellowstone, the volcano. So they know exactly what's going on. But there's been no evacuation to the